is the media. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, I hope all of you had a wonderful, meaningful, very restful Memorial Day weekend, especially Memorial Day yesterday, where we honor the fallen, our great heroes who fought and died for our freedoms. Kuhner managed to get some rest, and I'm back, refreshed, recharged, and ready to go. And let me tell you right out of the gate, this story should be everywhere. It should be all over Fox. It should all be all over Newsmax. Frankly, if they had any honesty whatsoever, it should be all over CNN, MSNBC. This should be everywhere. And not just across the entire country, but here in the local media as well. And the question now is, where is the media? With the exception of the New York Post. I want to give a big hat tip to the New York Post and a couple of other media outlets, but for the most part, you can count them on one hand. This should be one of the biggest stories in the country. What have the Democrats and the media been telling us now for years? That there is no voter fraud. No, this is a figment of Trump's imagination. This is a figment of the Kuhner man's imagination. That this is something that MAGA has been making up for years. There's no evidence. There's no voter fraud. We have the most secure voting election system in the world, in history, according to them, correct? Don't they say this ad nauseum? And furthermore, don't they say, especially in all the blue states, not just Massachusetts, it could be New York, Rhode Island, I don't care, Connecticut, Illinois, California, Oregon, take your pick. Illegals are not taking welfare benefits. That's a lie. They're not taking government taxpayer dollars. That's a lie. Okay. It's a lie, right? It's all been a lie? Okay. Again, hat tip to the New York Post. An illegal alien woman from Colombia. She has been living illegally in the United States for more than 2 decades. Her name, just so that you know, is Lina Maria Orovio Hernandez. She's 59 years old. Has now been arrested for illegally voting in the 2024 presidential election. This is according now to federal prosecutors. This was just before the Memorial Day weekend. Okay, bombshell story. And by the way, no, I don't think she voted for Donald Trump. I don't know. Something tells me she's a Kamala gal. Okay? Something tells me she voted for Commie Kamala. So, in fact, in Jamaica Plain, here in Mass, she's in front of an ATM machine getting benefits that we're paying for, and she literally has an I voted sticker. They got it on camera right after she voted in the November presidential election. So, she also, listen now to this. She apparently used stolen identity, has been living on stolen identity, as most illegals do, for decades. She submitted a fraudulent voter registration here in Massachusetts in January 2023. She was fraudulently, illegally registered to vote. And then she cast a ballot in last year's presidential election. Now, furthermore, not only did this illegal vote illegally, it's a crime for illegals to vote, but listen to this. She has also taken, that we know of, over $400,000. Taxpayer dollars. That's your money. That's my money. You're working hard. You're in the car today or about to get into the car to go to work. You're paying taxes for people like her. Over $400,000 in stolen federal welfare benefits. $400,000. And she also has a real ID. Hell, I don't even have a real ID. If I board a plane domestically, I use a passport. Okay, but I have a driver's license and a passport. No. She has a real ID, 8 other state IDs, including, of course, a driver's license. She's got a passport, a U.S. passport. She apparently is, has a fraudulent social security number, and they have been sending her check after check after check after check for now close to 20 years, almost 15 years. She is now charged with false representation of a social security number, making a false statement and an application for a United States passport, aggravated identity theft, receiving stolen government money, her property, that's the $400,000, fraudulent voter registration, and fraudulent voting. Now, just so that you know how well she's been living off of our money, authorities now say that Oravio Hernandez improperly received over $400,000 in federal welfare benefits. Again, taxpayer dollars. A lot of it, about $260,000, went to Section 8. So she was basically living rent-free off of our back. This goes all the way back 14 years. She got $101,000. By the way, she's fine. She's completely fine. You see this surveillance footage. The woman's healthier than I am. $101,000 in Social Security disability payments. Do you know how hard it is for many Americans, legal Americans, American citizens, who say after the age of 50 or 55, even though they've been paying into the system for decades and decades and decades, and God forbid they get disabled or they get injured or whatever, many of them are constantly rejected for Social Security disability? And this woman from Colombia got over $101,000 in Social Security disability benefits. Apparently she got also over $43,000 in SNAP, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits, basically food stamps. So we paid for her food, we paid for her rent, and basically through Social Security disability, we were basically, she was living, we were paying for her income. And, by the way, she's so poor, she got a passport because she also liked to travel a little bit. Again, on our dime. And, of course, she got to vote. Now, many of you are going to say, well, okay, Jeff, what's the big deal here? Well, here's the big deal. We now know illegal aliens were caught voting in the 2024 presidential election. Now, where is the media? They say this doesn't happen. According to our own Secretary of State, our elections, you can't be more secure. Illegals don't vote in Massachusetts. According to the Democrats and the media, illegals don't vote across the country. They don't vote in presidential elections. Well, she did. And she did it easily, effortlessly. Illegals don't collect welfare benefits. Look at her. That we know of, over 400,000. They suspect it could be much higher than 400,000. Now, notice all of this while Democrats are fighting tooth and nail any voter ID laws. And now you know why. Because they know that illegals are voting illegally in the United States. So they want it to continue. So people like this Hernandez woman can continue to vote, in this case, for Kamala Harris. Now, let me just say one other thing, and then I want to open it up to the phone lines. 617-266-6868. You keep draining Social Security the way this woman did. Now, remember, DOJ now has exposed over 12 million people, most of them illegals, getting Social Security benefits who are over the age of 120 years old. Remember, the oldest person in America, one, is 114. One. So these are people, over 12 million, who have been scamming the system now for decades. Social Security is going to go bankrupt. Never mind that it's fraud. Never mind that it's an abuse. Never mind that it's a crime. It's illegal. Social Security is going to go bankrupt. Medicaid is going to go bankrupt. Food stamps are going to go bankrupt. You can't keep funding this and having that many illegals mooching off of the system like parasites, so that when real Americans, because that's what these programs are there for, they're to help real American citizens in their time of need, or the American poor people who need help. You start giving all this away to non-citizens and illegals, there's going to be nothing left. Your reaction, your calls, next. 6:18 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so massive scandal, obviously, both here in Massachusetts and across the country. And where is the media? Again, with the exception of the New York Post and a few others, hat tip to them. But outside of that, here, where's Channel 4? Where's Channel 5? Where's Channel 7? Where's Channel 10? Where's Channel 25? Where's WGBH? Where's the Boston Globe? Nowhere. They will not touch this story with a 10-foot pole. Where is This is CNN? Where's Stephanopoulos on ABC News? Where he went crazy during the last election saying, there's no voter fraud. It doesn't exist. We have the most secure elections in history. Okay, listen now. This is U.S. Attorney Leah B. Foley regarding now the arrest of a Colombian illegal alien. She is, her name is Oravio Hernandez, her last name, 59 years old, for more than 20 years. This defendant is alleged to have built an entire life on the foundation of a stolen identity, including illegally voting in our presidential election and collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars in government benefits intended for Americans in need. Now, that's just one illegal. Literally, just one. Registered to vote, fraudulently registered to vote, and over $400,000 taxpayer dollars. So we paid for an illegal, okay, a citizen of another country who violated our laws, snuck into our country, had no right to be here. And we paid for her rent, public housing. We gave her Social Security disability. The woman, you got to see her on these surveillance cameras. What disability? She moves better. I'm telling you, she moves better than I do. If she's disabled, where's my Social Security disability? If you call this disabled. Food stamps, we've been paying her food, her rent, her cash money in her pocket, everything. Everything. Now you know why the country's going broke. Now you know why the state is going broke. But don't ever tell me again that illegals don't vote in our elections. Now, furthermore, I mentioned briefly, because to show you the scale of the problem that needs to be addressed. So, over 12 million, there were over 12 million people have now been taking off the Social Security rolls. Over 12.3 million in the database were put down as being over the age of 120 years old. 120 years old plus. Some were 130, some were 140. There were literally several thousands over 150 years old Like, well, what have we now discovered? The fountain of youth? And so Doge found all of this massive waste, fraud, and abuse. Apparently now, the latest update from Doge is those 12.3 million have now been marked as deceased, and they have now been taken off the Social Security rolls. They are no longer going to be collecting a check. Now, furthermore, so you want to talk about a drain on the system. You want to talk about potentially bankrupting Social Security. So people that had no business collecting these checks were not just engaging in fraud. Many of them were literally illegal aliens, claiming to be 120 off of stolen identities, claiming to be 120, 130, 140, 150 years old. Now, furthermore, Elon and several others, to their credit, found that under the Biden regime, this is just the last 4 years, all of these illegals that he allowed to pour in, they encourage these illegals to register for Social Security benefits. Again, they're not entitled to them. It's only for American citizens. They found that 2.1 million illegals just in the last 4 years under Biden now are registered and collecting Social Security. And Elon says, A, they got to go to jail, that they're committing fraud, and B, you got to cut off the money supply. You keep putting millions and millions of these illegals on Social Security, American citizens who've paid into the system, who deserve these benefits, who've earned these benefits, who've paid for these benefits, they're not going to have Social Security when they need it. You're going to drain and bankrupt the system. I mean, and again, aren't Democrats the ones who always say they want to protect Social Security? No, they don't. Look how they fight for these illegals to the point where they even say, we want you to apply for Social Security. Knowing, and this has been Trump's argument the whole time. Hey, I'm here to save it. You keep having illegals on Medicaid, on Medicare, on food stamps, on Section 8, on Social Security. These benefits that are a safety net for the elderly, for the poor, for the vulnerable, for the misfortunate, for fellow Americans, it's not going to be there. Listen now to this. This is almost incredible. This is almost incredible. By the way, these are all government statistics. Speaker Mike Johnson, listen to what he said on CNN. This is CNN. Roll cut 21, Mike.
The CBO found that nearly 8 million Americans will, in fact, lose their insurance coverage because of the changes this bill makes to Medicaid. So how do you reconcile that with what President Trump said?
It's directly in line with what the president said. I've said the same. We are not cutting Medicaid in this package. There's a lot of misinformation out there about this, Jake. The numbers of Americans who are affected are those that are entwined in our work to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse. And what do I mean by that? You got more than 1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid. Medicaid is not intended for non-U.S. citizens. It's intended for the most vulnerable populations of Americans, which is pregnant women and young single mothers, the disabled, the elderly. They are protected in what we're doing because we're preserving the resources for those who need it most.
1.4 million illegal aliens on Medicaid. 1.4 million that we know of. That's, official government statistics. And you have the media and the Dems saying they want to cut Medicaid and this big, beautiful bill, these heartless Republicans. And they're like, no, we're going to get rid of the 1.4 million who shouldn't be getting any Medicaid. Why? Because they're illegal aliens. It's for poor people in America, single mothers, pregnant mothers, the elderly. Hello? When Democrats start yelling and screaming, cuts to Medicaid, we can't cut Medicaid. The Republicans in this big, beautiful bill, they're going to shred Medicaid. They're protecting illegal aliens. That's what they're doing. The only people whose Medicaid is getting cut are those that have no right to have it, i.e., illegal aliens or non-citizens. 1.4 million are on Medicaid who are illegals that we know of. I'm telling you, the figure is much higher. Much, much, much higher. Biden now has allowed 2.1 million illegals to collect Social Security that we know of. So, as I said on X last night, not only is this, it's illegal, it's a crime. But it's going to bankrupt. It's going to bankrupt Social Security. It's going to bankrupt Medicaid. It's going to bankrupt food stamps, SNAP. It's going to bankrupt Section 8. So what about our poor people who need the help? That's what it's there for. It's for our people, for American citizens. Now, the lines are jammed, completely full, so I want to go to the phone lines. I want to read two very quick messages because it really gets to the heart of how unfair this is. Here you have an illegal alien Colombian woman who came into the country, snuck in illegally, okay, for over 20 years now, commits identity fraud. She has a fake Social Security number. She's collecting over $100,000 in Social Security disability. She's collected, over $260,000 in Section 8. She's been living rent-free her whole life on our dime. And she's collected nearly $50,000, $43,000 in free food on SNAP. She has now been caught voting in the 2024 federal election. I thought this didn't happen. Liberals say it never happens. So you see, now the argument is, oh, okay, well, it's a one-off. That's now the argument. Well, okay, one here, one there. Well, what about the 1.4 million on Medicaid? What about the 2.1 million on Social Security under Biden? What about the 12 million who are supposed to be over 120 years old collecting Social Security benefits? Now they've been taken off the rolls because of Trump and Doge and Elon. So we're now looking at millions and millions and millions of illegals who've been raping us. There's no other way to put it. Plundering, pillaging, taking. And now you expect me to believe? So they're willing to get fake Social Security numbers, get fake IDs, like this woman. She had a passport. She had a real ID. She had 8 state IDs. 8. But suddenly now, no, they're not voting. She voted, but no, the illegals are not voting. You expect me to believe that? Anybody with half a brain? Listen now. This is a man who served our country. This is Larry. Okay? Air Force veteran. Good man. Very good man. Jeff. So the VA, Veterans Affairs, medically retired me in 2017. Last year, Congress changed the rules very quietly that the cutoff for Social Security disability is 5 years from the last day of employment. It used to be 15. So I cannot receive it. So our veterans, yesterday was Memorial Day. Our veterans who put their life and limb on the line for us, who are wounded, they cannot get freaking Social Security disability. But this Colombian illegal alien, who you see on the surveillance camera, she's taking out cash in Jamaica Plain. Okay, I'm telling you, the woman could do the marathon. The way she, with her sneakers and, the whole outfit that they have, the whole getup, this woman is flying in and out. I'm telling you, Mike, she can outrun you and me together. I'm 55, not much. Mike's 26 years old. Mike, I'm telling you, let's not ever race against her because she'll beat us. This woman is disabled. Bull, you know what? Bull crap. So the veterans, blank you. But in illegal, keep taking, baby. Just keep taking. As long as you vote Democrat, just keep taking, baby. All right, one more. This is from Caitlin. And Caitlin has a wonderful daughter. I met her daughter at one of the rallies. Beautiful, beautiful young daughter. Jeff, I took my daughter to Richardson's Ice Cream to go mini golfing. There were tons and tons of foreigners there speaking zero English. All of them driving brand new expensive cars. These people were everywhere. They were just hanging out on the mini golf course. They weren't playing. They were just hanging out, watching their kids play on the golf course while people are waiting for each hole. But let that go, as you say. The huge part is that the jerk off next to me in the parking lot, again, speaking zero English, gets into a friggin' brand new Silverado that must have cost nearly $60,000. I want to see the car or the pickup truck or the SUV or whatever that Colombian illegal here in Massachusetts. I want to know what she was driving. Because Caitlin is 1,000% correct. Do you know how many times I've been in a grocery store and I've seen these illegals with their EBTs, with their food stamps, and they've got carts and carts piled up with food. None of them speak a word of English. Not even hello, good. I'm telling you, not even hi, bye. Loaded. And then I see a brand new pickup truck or a brand new SUV because they're collecting, like she did, all of these benefits. Hey, look, if you're not paying rent and you're not paying food and you've got cash money coming in and you've got Medicaid, free health care, and you work under the table, as many of them do, no wonder you can drive a $50,000, $60,000 car. Of course you can. And you see this all the time. Now, I'm telling you that this is unsustainable. It's wrong. It's unfair. It's deeply discriminatory against taxpayers and against American citizens. And it's going to bankrupt and destroy our country. Now, where is the media? As I led the show with, where's the media? Now, they don't want to touch stolen elections with a 10-foot pole, so I understand why Fox News doesn't want to touch it, or CNN or MSNBC. But what about other media outlets? What are people so afraid of? The woman is being prosecuted for fraudulently voting in the 2024 presidential election. And I fear, in fact, I don't fear, I know that they fear. You push this story too hard, she's not the only one. In fact, I bet you she's going to say, what you talking? Everybody voting. What you talking? And that's why let's bury our heads in the sand and pretend this is not happening. Agree, disagree, Michael in Boston. Thanks for holding, Michael, and welcome.
My name is Michael. I've called before. Love the show.
Thank you, Michael.
I'm dealing with throat cancer. I haven't worked in 16 months. I've been denied Social Security just a month ago, and now I'm on the appeal process, which will take another 9 months. I've exhausted everything, thank God for my family, who has helped me here and there, but again, I don't like to depend on them. I've worked my entire life. I'm 59 years old, and I'm just called to say I am furious at this woman's benefits.
Michael, look, I'm not trying to pour gas on the fire, but I just want you to know this woman doesn't have throat cancer. She has got nothing. She's healthier than me. Okay? She's healthier than most people listening. She's healthy as a horse, as they say. 59 years old, an illegal alien from Colombia. She's collected over $100,000 in Social Security disability. You, who've paid into the system, same age, you've paid into the system. You got throat cancer. Where are they for you? Nothing. You have to fight and claw, been denied, appeal. This is wrong. This is sick. This has to change. Michael, thank you. WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Okay, many of you are texting the Kuhner man. You can text us 70470 saying, Jeff, can you give the woman's name again? The illegal alien Colombian woman who voted in the 2024 presidential election and that we know of improperly received more than $400,000 in stolen federal benefits here in Massachusetts. Her name is Lina Maria Oravio Hernandez. And Larry on Messenger messaged me back, and he made a very good point. There's a picture of her. You can see it, surveillance footage of her at a bank in Jamaica Plain with a I voted sticker. You know, in 2024, I voted. And as Larry pointed out, had she not had that sticker on her, if she wasn't, in other words, so arrogant and so full of hubris, she probably would have gotten away with illegally voting, and she'd still be collecting all of this, federal taxpayer money. All that funding, all those federal welfare benefits, she'd be still kicking back and just taking in all the cash. But no, he got sloppy, got arrogant. Couple decades here, you keep getting away with it. Well, you know what? I'm going to really show everybody. I don't vote for Trump. No. I vote for Kamala. And that's how she got caught. And if you notice, generally, that's the thing with a lot of criminals. It's even the mob. Notice, it's always their arrogance and their pride and their hubris that brings them down. If they just stay under the radar and stay low-key, most likely they keep getting away with it. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, thanks for holding and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How was your holiday weekend?
Very restful. How was yours, Dave?
Good, Jeff. I went to more memorials and remembrances than I'll ever forget or want to remember. But no, it was pretty good. We had nice weather here. Rained a little bit on Friday and Saturday, but it was nice yesterday. My VFW put on a great, experience as always.
Well, Dave, I thought of you, honestly. I thought of all of our vets yesterday, and I prayed for all of you guys when I went to church on Sunday, and I can't thank you again, Dave, for everything you and all the vets have done. I would not be behind this microphone. God is my witness if it wasn't for heroes like you. So truly, from the bottom of my heart, Dave, thank you, my friend. Thank you for your service, and thank you for your patriotism.
Hey, Jeff, and I thank God for giving me the ability. And, Jeff, there's one song that Billy Ray Cyrus, all gave some and some gave all. But it's not really me, Jeff. It's the ones who fell, my brothers and sisters who died in past wars, everything from the first Revolutionary War to Iraq and Afghanistan, all my brothers and sisters. But, Jeff, I'm going to tell you something. This woman that's doing this, but if you point it out, you're a racist. No, it's called, like you said, Jeff, I don't mean to steal your thunder. And I'm not going to let this go, Jeff. It can't be let go. The fact is that, Jeff, she's the one that's racist. She's the one that's stealing away benefits from that poor gentleman that just called that Esville camps, and I'll keep him in my prayers, Jeff. But if we pointed out people like Hakeem Jeffries, that punk comes on TV, all this waste, it's not waste, fraud, and abuse. It's Republicans trying to take it away. No, we're trying to take it away from illegal immigrants like that woman. And if you want to assimilate, learn English. Jeff, if you really think about it, Jeff, it's reverse discrimination. If I went to Spain, Jeff, I've been overseas. Even when I was in Iraq and Kuwait, Jeff, I spoke a little bit of Arabic to understand, the poor people in Iraq that were under Saddam, Jeff, and, and all the people that were under these dictators. It's good to understand the local language. It shows you care about them, and we do care about the people, Jeff. It's just the fact is they come here and they freeload off of stuff, but yet if you point it out, we're the racist, I mean, it's disgusting.
It is. No, you're right. It's completely disgusting. And look, I don't want to reveal this part, but there's a woman that messaged me, and she's a wonderful single mom, beautiful daughter. I told you I've met the daughter. And she says, I'm literally driving a car that's 25 years old. I mean, I'm scraping by. The woman is scraping by to take care of her daughter and take care of herself. Times are tough. Gas is still too high. Food is still too high. I know it's coming down, but still, it's not easy. Making rent, paying your grocery bills, paying your bills. And, they come into this country. Look, it doesn't matter whether she speaks English or doesn't speak English. What bothers me is she's here illegally. That's strike one. And it's a big strike one. But then to vote and to be taking in that we know of $400,000, and I bet you she's working under the table. Mrs. Social Security Disability. I guarantee you, she's working under the table. So I'm telling you, she probably drives a brand new car. I see it all the time. Or whatever, a very nice car. So her carts are full. Her checks are coming in every single month. She lives rent-free. She drives around in a nice car. I bet you she's playing the lottery. I bet you she likes to go out there and have a good time and eat out. And so she's living large off of us. She's a parasite. And on top of that, she gets to vote. And you have the media and the Democrats telling us, lying to our faces over and over again, this is not happening. This is all a lie. This is the fantasy of Trump and MAGA. Well, what's the fantasy now? I'm not going to talk about the 1.4 million on Medicaid, the illegals on Medicaid. Let's not talk about that. Or the millions now that we know Biden put on Social Security. Let's not even talk about that. I'm just talking about here, this one Colombian woman. No? No, it's not happening now? She didn't do this? And we all know that this is everywhere. Now, we're about to hit a tipping point. We cannot afford this anymore. So either we survive or we go down. We only have two choices now. Survive or suicide. Final word to you, Dave.
And Jeff, let me tell you something. When our founding fathers came here to leave oppression, religious oppression, like in the First Amendment, Jeff, freedom is religion, okay? And Jeff, that doesn't mean there's going to be a state religion, but off that, Jeff, they came here. Other immigrants came here with an opportunity to succeed, not have a handout, not ride the gravy train, Jeff. Because like you said, Jeff, you labeled it perfectly, Jeff. They're a parasite. But if you go on the MSDNC and all the rest of the alphabet soup media, like I coined them before, all bull crap and nothing but crap, Jeff, they're going to label me, you, and everybody else a racist. But yet people that died and gave their life for this country, they can't get benefits. I mean, I get the VA here in Pittsburgh, Jeff, and I'm going to tell you, Jeff, I'm going to give a shout out to the VA in Pittsburgh. I don't know about Boston, but the VA in Pittsburgh, they take damn good care of us vets, Jeff, and they got really good people. It's on the UPMC campus, so it's like all the doctors and nurses that actually do their internship at the Oakland Hospital. It's a section of Pittsburgh, Oakland, like you got Mattapan in Boston, Jeff. They get their medical, I think, their tuition paid for. But Jeff, that's the right way it should be, not, legally. But
you deserved it. No, you've earned it. You deserve it. You should get top-notch care. Dave, come on. Seriously, man. Of course you should. Dave, as always, really good call, and I want to thank you again for your service. Look, you mentioned Memorial Day. Let me just talk about it a little bit more. Look, I mean this from the bottom of my heart, okay? I am more than happy to pay taxes. I'm serious. To help poor Americans, disadvantaged Americans, single mothers with children, pregnant women, the elderly, the disabled. By the grace of God, there go I. Okay? I really truly mean this. Medicaid, food, rental assistance. It shouldn't be a way of life. After a while, you should, get on your feet. But that's the point of a safety net. It catches you when you fall. It coddles you. It holds you for a while. And then eventually you get off the safety net and, you bounce back. That's the whole idea. It's not supposed to be a waterbed. It's not supposed to be, let me just stay here for the rest of my life. But my point is, I do believe in a basic social safety net. Of course I do. And look, my fellow Americans, you're like my fellow brother and sister. We're like a family. So I'm more than happy to help my fellow Americans. Again, I really mean this. By the grace of God, there go I. I could be disabled. I could be unemployed. I don't know. I could get financially wiped out. These things happen all the time. You know, God forbid, I get cancer, my wife gets cancer, whatever, and medical bills, and before you know it, man, I'm on the street. So, you know, truly, it's there for American citizens. It's not there for illegal alien criminals who just come into our country illegally, break our laws, violate our sovereignty, and then what? Just stand there and mooch decade after decade? I'm telling you, the boys that stormed the beaches of Normandy are heroes who fought in Korea or Vietnam, and those who fought in Vietnam were heroes, or in Afghanistan, or in Iraq. I could go on and on. They didn't fight for her. They don't fight for some illegal to come in here and vote illegally in our elections and scam us out of $400,000. That's not why they fought and died. So I'm sorry, there's something seriously wrong and sick here. We've got everything upside down. Now, notice, the silence of the media is deafening. The silence of the local media is deafening. The silence of the Democrat Party in this state, deafening. Where's the mass GOP? Where are those losers? How come they're not denouncing this? I'll tell you why. Because they don't want to touch it's the third rail. They don't want to touch the fact that there's rampant voter fraud and stolen elections. They know it. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it, but they don't want to touch it. So the mass GOP says nothing. Amy Carnevale says nothing. And that's why nothing ever changes. So if the national Republicans don't have the guts to speak out, if the national, and I put this in air quotes, conservative media doesn't have the guts to speak out, and if the local conservatives, or whatever, what passes for conservatives, the local Republicans don't have the guts to speak out, and the local media doesn't have the guts to speak out, now you know why it continues. Because everybody's afraid to tell the truth. 617-266-6868. I mean, am I wrong? Mel in New York. Thanks for holding, Mel, and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mel.
Thank you for taking this. Yeah, hi.
My pleasure, Mel.
Yes, sir. You know what, Tom Holman, if you're listening, if you want a target rich environment, you go to any racetrack around across this country, and I guarantee you'll have a plane load. You'll have a ship load of illegals. Now, Jeff, when I go to apply for my backstretch credentials, I got to have a Social Security number. Now, you look at the backstretch today compared to what it was 30, 40, 50 years ago, with all blacks, whites, and Puerto Ricans on the backstretch of every racetrack across this country. The complexion has changed drastically. You've got illegals on top of illegals in the backstretch here. Now, I have to have a Social Security card, a Social Security number, and my card, of course. And as far as where you were born, not to go as far as a birth certificate, but there's a ton of information that the Gaming Commission wants and needs in order to have you credentialed and to be able to work on the backstretch of every racetrack across this country. Now, how are these illegals that are coming into this country? I'm pretty sure whatever country they come from, I don't think they've got a Social Security system. So how would they have a Social Security card? Now, I can go down from any barn on this backstretch, and I guarantee you there'll be at least 10 to 15 people with the same Social Security number. And how did they get that past the Gaming Commission here in New York State? I have no idea because, well, I do have an idea. They're just turning their heads. They're turning their heads and just letting it happen. Yeah, like I said, this is a target-rich environment for immigration. And now, it's like you're in Tijuana because this English is hardly ever spoken back here. There is a communication barrier, but you got these trainers that will hire these people because they know they'll go and they'll take double the workload for half the money, and for what an American would, out of self pride. as far as, I'm not, I hear this, we got 3 or 4 horses. I mean, it used to be when I was growing up as a kid. On the back such a groom now is a guy who takes care of a horse each morning, knocks him off, brushes him off, bathes him, tacks him up with saddle, bridle, and everything else, put bandages and everything on the legs. That's what a groom would do. Now, you've got grooms back here, these illegals, and a hot walker who would take a horse and walk a horse after he comes off the track. He's a little hot, he's breathing, he's trained, he's exercised, just like anybody else would, like yourself, myself. I go out and jog, 10, 15, 3, 4 miles, 5 miles. I'm coming back, I'm a little bit hot, I'm sweating and everything else. And so that's their duty. So what happens? They'll have their girlfriend or their wife walking the horse. The groom is taking care of the horse. And they don't have any Social Security documentation, but they're doing that job for half of what you are.
Oh, there you go. Mal, you put your finger right on it. Because you see, look, think about it. They can't survive if their only source of income was working for half the money that you work for or I work for or anyone else works for. But if you do it the way this illegal alien Colombian does it, and that's how they all do it, if your rent is taken care of and your food is paid for by the dumb gringo, the suckers, us, and, you're getting a couple $1,000s a month in welfare checks, and you're all on Medicaid, so you got taxpayer-paid free health insurance, taxpayer-paid free rent, taxpayer-paid free food, taxpayer-paid free health care, taxpayer-free paid education, because we're educating their kids. Well, then working for, whatever it is, $8, $10, $12, $15 an hour under the table, that's cash money, and it's all tax-free. That's cash money. It's all cash money.
There's no remittance charge when they send that money back home. It should be at least 60%, remittance. If you want to work here, you don't want to simulate, you don't want to pay into our tax base, when you want to send your money back home, well, there's one way of getting rid of it. When 60% of your money is going back to our government, and you're not making hardly anything, but that's what has to happen. You have to raise the remittance. The Western Union, these other places where you can send money through over borders into different countries, well, you got to raise it. You got to raise it to 60%, 75%. That way they'll say, I'm not making anything. I'm going back home. But
well, Mel, that's if we were serious. You're right. If we were serious, we'd be doing what you're proposing. Mel, again, thank you very much for that call. So even horse racing now, it's overrun with illegals. You guys swear you can't make this up. Look, Mel touched on something, and he said, where's our pride? As a country, as a people, where's our pride? Now, if I was to say to you, because our country is our home. It's a homeland. That's why it's called homeland. It's our home. It's our collective home. Now, imagine if this was your individual home. Would you allow squatters to just literally just pour into your home? Just kick your door down or pick your door and just come on in or sneak in through the window or sneak in through the back? And then they're living in your basement. They're living in your bathroom. They're living in your bedrooms. And they go in the fridge and you work, but they just keep eating from your fridge. And they raid your medicine cabinet. And basically they're living off of your money, your hard work, the sweat of your brow. And sooner they start to even decide what's in your own home. They get the vote. Now you tell me, where's your pride? And they start raping your women and giving drugs to your children and to your sons and to your daughters, because that's what's happening with all the drugs and the fentanyl pouring in. And you just stand there and smile? And you don't evict them? That's literally what's happening to our country. Now, there's got to be a certain point where, we celebrated Memorial Day, and we should. We commemorated Memorial Day. We should. We don't even have 1/10 of the courage of those people who fought and died for our country. We're not asking for people to take bullets, man. We're not asking them to storm a beach or go in the jungles of Vietnam or the caves of Afghanistan or fight ISIS and these terrorist, bombers out in Iraq. How about no? Every illegal alien out. And we're going to clean up the voting rolls. And it's time that we demand leaders who will speak truth to power and not be cowed and intimidated. I mean, is that so freaking hard? Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Happy Memorial Day to you, my friend.
All the best to you and your family, Mark.
Thank you. So, Jeff, if they know there's 1.4 million people doing the exact same thing that this woman did, why is this the only woman that has been arrested? Number one, because obviously they know it's probably quadruple the amount of people that are doing it, Jeff, after all the illegals that Joe Biden let into this country. Okay? But that'll explain, too, the 81 million votes he got and probably 3/4 of the votes that Kamala Harris got, because we know for real that both were landslides by Trump. Am I right or wrong on that?
You're completely right. Completely right.
I find it freaking hilarious that the Democrats will keep going out there and saying that they're going to take your Social Security, they're going to cut your Social Security, they're going to take your Medicaid, they're going to cut your Medicaid, they're going to take your food stamps. But, Jeff, let me ask you a question.
Mark, can you please hang on? I'm up against the break. Please, I want to come back on the other side, and I want Mark to finish his thought because I think he's putting his finger right on it. And let me ask all of you another question. Do you think this was the only time she voted? I don't think so. 19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868. Okay. It's a very big story. New York Post, I want to give them credit. A couple of other media outlets have broken it, but for much of the national media, the local media especially, they won't touch this with what 10-foot pole? They won't touch it with anything. And that is an illegal Colombian woman who has been in this country, in this state, in Massachusetts in particular, but in the country, for almost 20 years, voted illegally in the 2024 presidential election, and now, according to a recent indictment by the U.S. Attorney, has taken in over $400,000, taxpayer dollars, in all kinds of federal welfare benefits. Rental assistance, Section 8 housing, Social Security disability payments, over $100,000 just that alone, nearly $50,000 in food stamps, and on it goes. And what everybody realizes now is this is just typical. This is the tip of the iceberg. And how long can we sustain this? To me, I don't think we can go on much longer. Now, I want to go back to Mark in Medford. I just want to ask everyone this question. The assumption is that she illegally voted in 2024. But the assumption is that was the only time she illegally voted. I'd love to ask her, how many times did you vote? Because I don't believe she only voted in 2024. I believe she voted in 2020 for Joe Biden. I practically guarantee you she voted for Joe Biden in 2020. And I think that's a major reason why the entire media, and I'm including now the so-called conservative establishment media, they don't want to touch this story. Because it's going to open up the Pandora's box of rampant voter fraud and stolen elections. Agree, disagree? Mark in Medford. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Yeah, Jeff, so before we went to break, I was saying that, the Democrats are telling you that they're going to take all these benefits away from everybody due to these Doge cuts and whatnot. But my question was to you before the break was going to be, Jeff, have you heard of anybody call your show or anybody else's radio show or has been on TV on any news station that all these benefits were taken away from them since Doge made these cuts? The answer is absolutely no. And when you ask them that question, they say, oh, no, but, no. There is no buts. You're being fed a bunch of bull crap, and you're falling forward hook, line, and sinker because you can't think for yourself, because the people in this government, the Democrats especially, are brainwashing you to death. You haven't lost a single dime in food stamps, Medicare, Social Security, nothing. The people that are getting cut off are the people that don't exist.
Or are not entitled to it. You're right. No, you nailed it. Mark, I've got to ask you, you're dead on, and you're on fire as usual. Mark, I've got to ask you, okay, you're a liberal. I don't mean you. I'm just saying this to a liberal out there. Fine. You're a liberal. You're a progressive. You're a moonbat, whatever you want to call yourself. You like your food stamps. You like your welfare. You like your Medicaid, your Medicare, your Social Security. But even liberals, don't they understand that if you keep bringing in millions of people, illegals, non-citizens, and they all start going on food stamps, as they are, and Medicaid, as they are, and taking Social Security, as they are, that eventually, there aren't infinite resources. It's not an infinite amount of money in the pot. There's only so much for any country. If you take it away, after a while, it's going to be taken away from the citizens. The whole thing is going to come crashing down. Mark, don't they comprehend that? Or are they honestly that stupid?
Jeff, I'm beginning to believe they are that stupid. Okay? Because you're absolutely right. The more they give to illegals that don't deserve it, or people that don't exist.
Okay. No, that's happened to me a few times, Mark. It was halfway out your mouth. You reined it in just at the last possible millisecond. But keep going, Mark.
You keep feeding them this, the more they're going to believe it. And it's true. When you repeat something over and over and over and over, some people are just going to say, well, then it must be true. But it's not. It's not true. And like I said earlier in my call when I first called, Jeff, if there's 1.4 million people doing this, then I'm sorry, but I'm thinking 75%, 80% of the illegals that were let in this country under Joe Biden's watch are also doing it. And only one has been arrested, which is mind-boggling.
You're dead on. Mark, as usual, absolutely 1,000% correct. Mark, thank you very much for that call. Annie in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome.
Oh, hello.
Annie.
Greetings from the sanctuary city of Chosico, located in the country of Venezuela. Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way.
Annie, what do you make of all this?
Well, Jeff, I'm 72 years old. I've been working practically half my life. I worked at the Soldiers' Home for close to 30 years. And back then, they did not take out Social Security for me. I started in 82. Now that I retired, I get no Social Security.
Whoa, Annie, can you hang on? Whoa, you get no Social Security? Really? Annie, I'm up against it. Please hang on. So, wow. I want to come back to Annie in Chelsea, take more of your calls. Don't touch that dial. 6868 is the number. Okay, we're going to go right back to Annie in Chelsea. Just a very, very quick reset because we always have people coming in now at this time. An illegal alien woman. She's a Colombian. She's from Colombia, who has been in America, but in Massachusetts in particular for about 20 years. Social Security identity theft, fake Social Security number. Well, she has now been arrested. Why, you may ask? She voted in the 2024 presidential election, obviously for Kamala Harris. And she apparently now, that we know of, has been receiving and has taken over $400,000 in taxpayer benefits, taxpayer-funded federal welfare benefits. $260,000, if you want $259,000, I believe $560. I'm just going to round it off. $260,000 in rental assistance, Section 8 housing. She's been living rent-free for 20 years. Over $101,000 in Social Security disability. She's not disabled. Trust me. You got to see, just look at the surveillance camera and the images. Nearly $50,000 in food stamps. Goes on and on and on. We have been paying for her to mooch off of us for over 20 years, and she also voted. Democrats and the media said this doesn't happen. Illegals don't vote. They lied. They said illegals don't take all these benefits. They lied. And on top of all of that, we now know definitively over 2.1 million illegal aliens under Joe Biden were put onto Social Security and are illegally receiving Social Security benefits. 1.4 million illegals that we know of are on Medicaid. Official government statistics. Social Security is going broke. Medicaid's going broke. Medicare's going broke. Our welfare state's going broke. And we wonder why. Annie in Chelsea has worked 30 years. She's now 72 years old. She's finally retired, but she worked 30 years at a veterans home. Worked herself to the bone. She doesn't get Social Security. Now, Annie, this is what I don't get. How come they're not giving you Social Security, Annie? Didn't you? You're saying, what, did you pay into the system all those years?
Happened. I started in 1982, and back then they did not take out Social Security. But in '84 is when they started, but they didn't incorporate me into the system.
That's incredible.
So now, I don't know. I went down trying to get food stamps, and they said I'm not eligible because they go by what you gross. Meanwhile, I pay close to $300 a month in federal taxes. I went down to see if I could have someone help me because I said, who's going to take care of me? And they said, well, have a family member take care of you.
Is that what they said? Really?
Yeah. I'm going to all these agencies.
Annie, I don't want to get too personal, and if I am, please tell me. I promise I won't be offended. Annie, you've been calling this show now for 10 years. I've met you at so many rallies. I can't believe they're treating you like this. Annie, you said that you make too much for them to give you food stamps. But if you're retired, so where's your income coming? How are you getting an income?
Pension from the Soldiers' Home, but that's it.
Ah, the pension from the Soldiers' Home. Okay.
Yes, but I don't have secondary insurance like all my friends do. I have over $1,000, maybe two now, because I had 2 surgeries on my eye at Mass Eye and Ear. I have to pay it because Soldiers Home, they only pay a certain amount with the insurance.
But Annie, aren't you covered under Medicare?
I went down to Medicare, and I was over the amount, and then they said I could get some type of Medicare. But, Jeff, I got to show them, do you have life insurance policy? Do you have money in the bank? Why work 30 years when I could have stayed home? It got Medicare. Medicaid. That's degrading. That's like you, Jeff, right? Worked all your time and whatever, paid into the, federal taxes and state taxes, and then they say, oh, well, collect Medicaid. Isn't that degrading? I was better off being like an illegal.
Well, you anticipated my next question, Annie, in all sincerity, okay, from the heart, not to be funny, because you're a very funny woman, but, this is very deadly serious. Here, let me just lay out this woman, okay? Oravio Hernandez. Mm-hmm. $260,000 free rent over 20 years. $101,000 in Social Security disability checks every month. Okay, couple $1,000 every month. Food stamps. Her food has been paid for 20 years. I guarantee you she has a side gig. I guarantee it. Money under the table. I bet you she drives some kind of a new car or an SUV or whatever. She's on Medicaid. So her health care is all taken care of. Does she live better than you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying to myself, why be a citizen? I'm driving a 2022 car. You know, and I'm saying, I mean, why did my father serve in the Navy for 22 years? Why did my Uncle George got the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart? I mean, I came from a military family. Matter of fact, my nephew just graduated from boot camp.
And you worked at the soldiers' home for 30 years taking care of the vets. And this is the thanks that you get.
And every time I go someplace, oh, well, you're not eligible. I said, yeah, but I'm paying, you know, federal taxes. What am I getting for my federal taxes? Oh, I am getting oil, you know, from Cabot, but that's it.
It's so wrong. Honestly, it's so wrong. It really is. Annie, it's outrageous. Annie, God bless you. God bless you, and thank you very much for that call, Annie. Look, here it is. This is the call. I'm telling you, this is the call. So, here you have a 72-year-old American citizen, okay, an elderly woman, worked 30 years at a soldier's home, taking care of veterans. And she's being treated infinitely worse than an illegal alien. I mean, it's not even close. Did she ever get free rent? Yet. Look at her now. She can't even connect any kind of a benefit. Was she getting Social Security disability? Was the government cutting her several $1,000s a month in checks? Yet. Did she get free food for decades and decades? Yet. And, you know, she's got no health care. I could go on and on. So I want to, and I'm telling you, this is happening all over the country. Now, there's something seriously wrong here. We are third-class citizens in our own country. And now you know why. You see, this is why I'm telling you, this is why the media is trying to suppress and bury this story. Okay, sweep it under the rug. The $400,000 in benefits plus, it's more than $400,000. You know why? It's for the vote in 2024. And I bet you she voted in 2020. Bring in all of these third world illegals, put them on welfare, get them on Social Security, get them on Medicaid, get them on food stamps, get them on Section 8. By the way, the more people on Section 8, the more it crowds out American citizens from having access to Section 8. It also raises the cost of rents across the board and the cost of homes. So we're all getting screwed. We're all getting screwed. But what's it all for? Those are their voters. You get cheap votes on our dime. That's the racket. And it's not just in Massachusetts. I'm telling you, it's New York, it's Rhode Island, it's Connecticut, it's in Illinois, Chicago in particular, but Illinois, it's California. That's why California now is a one-party Democratic state. Who in their right mind would vote for those lunatics? Here in Mass, who would vote for these lunatics? These are the people that vote for these lunatics. Hell, if they were giving me all this for free, I'd vote for them. Who wouldn't vote for them? Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to ask all of you, when I left the last point I made before we went to break, it wasn't for effect. It wasn't, me trying to make a point. I'm seriously asking you, all of you, the great audience of Kuhner Country. I'm just going to use this illegal alien that they've now arrested for voting, illegally, fraudulently voting in the 2024 presidential election from Columbia, here in Massachusetts, and the over $400,000 in federal welfare benefits that they know of that she illegally received using, by the way, a fake social security number. And she had, she got a passport. She got a real ID. She got a driver's license, obviously. She's got 8 state IDs. I mean, I could go on and on. But when you look at her lifestyle, rent taken care of, food completely taken care of. I mean, carts and carts of food. That's all she got was food. She'd go to the grocery store and just load up on food stamps. Load up, it's all paid for. She's on Medicaid. That's free health care. She got over $101,000 in checks. Social Security, disability, she's not even disabled. So you go on, the whole kit and caboodle. And most likely she's working a side gig, money under the table, tax-free. So she's probably driving a very nice car. I know because I see it all the time with illegals. I see them going into a pickup truck or an SUV or a Silverado and I'm like, these are nice cars. And they're new cars. And I see them with their carts of food. And they don't have to worry about rent because we pay for their rent. It's all taxpayer funded. So I want to ask you, when you look at your life, when you look at your circumstances, your economic quality of life, how would you compare your standard of living to that of an illegal alien? Do you have no problem meeting your food budget? When you go grocery shopping, can you load up your food cart? Is it not a problem for you to pay your rent? Do you have thousands of dollars of cash just coming into your pocket, spending money? Do you drive a very nice car? And a new car? Do you have good quality health insurance? Now, my suspicion, I could be wrong, that's why I'd love to hear from you, but we had Michael from Boston, he was our first caller. The man I feel very bad for him. He's going to be in my thoughts and prayers, believe me. He's 59 years old, same age as this woman that was arrested. Okay, he's an American citizen, born and raised, I believe, in Boston. Don't quote me on that, but he's called a few times before, so I believe he's born and raised in Boston. He's battling throat cancer. Hard for him to work. He can't work. The guy's got cancer of the throat, for God's sakes. It's one of the worst forms of cancer you can get. He has worked decades, paid into Social Security. They denied him Social Security benefits, even though he's got throat cancer. Now he has to appeal. He's literally begging his family to help him. And he's looking at this and saying, how come she's treated better than I am? I don't have $100,000 in Social Security benefits, disability benefits coming in. Annie in Chelsea, 72 years old, worked 30 years at a soldier's home, taking care of veterans. She's living hand to mouth. Hand to mouth. And when she says, I want food stamps, well, no, you make too much money because she gets a pension from soldier's home where she worked. So she doesn't get thousands of dollars in checks. She doesn't get her rent paid for. She doesn't even qualify for food stamps. This is an American citizen who comes from a military family, who have served our country in war after war. Yesterday was Memorial Day. And, she didn't fight, but she served our veterans in a different way. She worked herself to the bone taking care of vets. And look at how she lives. Now, my suspicion, I could be wrong. I think there's a lot of people listening who are saying, Jeff, I literally do not live as well as an illegal alien. And, I always say this, treat me as an illegal. But, sir, it's a joke, but now the joke's become true. Hey, please treat me like an illegal. If you would just treat me like an illegal, and I'm first class. Gold-plated first class. That's how I want to be treated. So I want to ask you, Do you live better, the same, or worse than an illegal alien? And is there something seriously wrong in this country that so many Americans live worse than illegals do? 617-266-6868. Bob in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Bob, and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
You know, earlier you said something about you wondered if she voted for Biden in the past. Well, it's obvious that they can check the voting record to see if she voted, but you know the Dems aren't going to allow that.
Bob, what's your suspicion? If I was a betting man, I don't think this election was her first rodeo.
No, not at all. No, absolutely not. No.
Bob, how bad and pervasive do you think it is? Not just in Massachusetts, but around the country.
It's worse than you can imagine. Believe nothing surprises me any longer. Nothing.
I wish I could disagree with you, but I can't. And Bob, I suspect that's why the media, they want to sweep this under the rug. This story, credit, New York Post broke it, and others, a couple of them are following it, but no, the big media outlets, they want nothing to do with this story. Because this is not just voter fraud. This woman talks, and she's going to say, no, it's very common in the illegal alien community. I guarantee you she's going to say that. And then they got a problem on their hands. Bob, thank you very much for that call. Dave in Dorchester, thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Good. How are you, Dave?
Jeff, I'll tell you something. Figure this out. You think this governor drag queen is going to give Annie $25,000 to pay her bills the way she's given the illegals $25,000 apiece for every year and get it renewed every year for $25,000? Jeff, there's something wrong here. There's no way Annie should be getting screwed like this the way she's getting screwed. Jeff, I'm getting sick and tired of it. They tell me I made too much money and I couldn't even get my taxes as much as I paid into my taxes, saying that I owe too much money. It's like, Jeff, I was in Market Basket the other day. Jeff is crazy. Like you're saying, 2 carriages apiece. And then the cars are driving around, they're speeding all up and down Blue Hill Avenue going 80 miles an hour, up and down Columbia Road going 80 miles an hour. Jeff, something's got to be done. I'm getting sick and tired of it. Why pay taxes, Jeff? They cut my retirement off because they say I owe them money from 2 years ago, which I was paying into every week. Jeff, somebody's screwing somebody, and we're the ones getting screwed. And these illegals that buy the lead in the country are sucking up all our money, and yeah, they are living better than I am, because I don't even have a new car, Jeff. I don't even have my own car.
Well, they're living off the fat of the land. That's what really they're blood. I mean, sorry to say this, but they're leeches. They're living off the fat of the land. And look, and you're right, Dave. Look, I everywhere I go shopping, I'm amazed how many illegals are there. And if it's one cart, it is overflowing with food. Usually, I'm telling you, it's multiple carts. It's just full of food. And I'm looking at this. I'm like, and by the way, not a word of English. Nothing. And we're paying for this. Now, you touched on something. You said about Maura Healey giving all this money. So listen to this now. To the illegals, the so-called migrants. Okay, she just slipped this in now. This was a couple of weeks ago. Every year, they are going to get $15,000 in housing vouchers or rental assistance. So that means and it's going to be automatically renewed. So we're paying. See, they're saying, well, we're taking them out of the shelter, like we're solving the problem. No, you're not. Now you're just putting them out, and they're going to be in the private market, but they're just going to be renting apartments or renting a house or whatever. $15,000 a year. And it keeps going, in a family, it's $45,000. So every year, automatically renewed. Automatically. Now, you tell me, now you know why there's no more rainy day fund. Now you know why we've literally burned through billions of dollars. And now you know why they don't want to audit the budget and the state legislature spending that the voters demanded and passed 72% last November. They don't want to open up the books. They don't want an independent state audit. Why? Because I'm telling you, this is all just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be like Doge, but for Massachusetts. And by the way, they don't want this in states around the country. Blue states. They never want to open up the books. Why? Because the country's going to say, ay, ay, ay. We're giving that much to illegals? Here. This woman alone, $400,000 in welfare federal benefits. $400,000. How can you survive as a country? Now, think 20, 30, 40 million of them. Minimum 20 million. More like 30 or 40 million. Biden let in almost 20 million alone. You just do the math. Now, you can pull, on a cart. Yeah, you can load it up and you can pull it. But after a while, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people, 6 people, you can't pull it anymore. The horse drops dead. We're the horse. We're the plow horse. We work and we work and we give and we give. We're the tax makers, the tax producers. They're the takers, the tax consumers. It's just math. After a while, too many takers, not enough makers. What happens? Kaput. Kaput. In fact, what really starts to happen is the horse says, forget it. It's not worth it. Like what Dave is saying. And I'm paying taxes. Why? So, let me ask you this. When you pay your taxes, federal tax, state income tax, the sales tax, local taxes, for me, property taxes, they're killing me, okay? I know there's other taxes, but I'm giving you the big ones. Do you honestly feel like, are you getting your money's worth? Really? Like, do you drive around and say, wow, these roads are beautiful? Oh, man. Do you feel, I don't know, the trash pickup is great? Do you feel the quality of the schools is outstanding? Do you overall feel like I'm getting so much value for my money? Jeez. Oh, man, does my money go far? Or do you often ask yourself, like I do, and what am I getting for all this? Here, little thing, garbage pickup. Okay, number one, it's once a week. I remember growing up, garbage pickup was always twice a week. Twice a week. And you can put as many garbage bags as you want. Now, for me, in my area, it's once a week and 1 bag. That's it. Well, Jeff, what if you have to have a second bag? Well, then you got to go to the store, the grocery store, whatever, and you have to pay $10. In my case, the color is purple. It depends on the town. Some towns the color is orange. Some towns the color is green. My town, it's purple. Okay, and you have to pay $10 for 3 garbage bags. And after that, so I'm paying extra, which all goes to the town. So you want a second bag or a third bag or a fourth bag? It's got to be purple. If there are 2 bags that have they're black garbage bags or in the bin, they don't take the second bag. Blank you. That's what I'm getting for my money? 1 lousy garbage bag pickup? That's it? That's it. The potholes, don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it. So the government's never paid my rent, even 1 month, or now my mortgage. They never paid once. 1 month, nothing. They never paid one time I went to the grocery store. One time. 1 cart. Never mind, over and over. Nothing. Nothing. I never got... When has the government ever sent me a straight check, couple $1,000? Here. Jeff, for everything you've done for the vets, for everybody. Jeff, all the charities, all the money you raise. I don't even want to talk about what I do on the side, okay? So all the fundraising I do to help with, cancer research, I could go on and on, okay? Here's a couple $1,000. Thank you, Jeff. Kuhner man. No. Nothing. More. Give me more. Always more. Thank you for that call, Dave. It's time for a tax revolt. I'm telling you. It's time for a good old-fashioned American tax revolt. Because we're getting hosed. Mags in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mags, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, and as always, God bless you and everything that you do.
Thank you.
And God bless our vets after Memorial Day yesterday and the people that are living homeless when we're giving everything to the illegals. This is what I'd like to see. I'd like to see plane loads of illegals every single day being shut out of our country, taken out, put where they belong, back to their own countries where they came from. Illegals do not deserve any of the rights that the American citizens have. Okay? And I'm sick of listening to the liberals lie about everything. I don't even think they know how to tell the truth. Jeff, when I listen to Annie's story, when I listen to Mike, and I've listened to all the callers, it is disgusting. Totally disgusting what is happening in our country. I pay a huge amount of taxes. I work very, very hard. I'm very fortunate that I have a good job, and I try to help people as much as I can. I think that you know that, Jeff. I'm a good soul. But I'm sick and tired of this. Illegals should get nothing. This woman needs to be sent back to Colombia where she belongs. And Maura Healey, wake the hell up. You're screwing your people in this state of Massachusetts worse than the country itself is getting screwed.
Mags, if I can ask you a personal question, and again, if you don't want to answer it, I won't take it personally, I promise. I won't be offended. Mags, do you live better or worse, say, than this illegal alien here, this woman from Colombia?
Honestly, Jeff, like I just said, I'm very, very fortunate. I have a very good job, but as you know, I work very hard, okay? I'm not one of the people that sit on their butts doing nothing, okay? I pay a lot of taxes, and I hate the thought that I'm paying for illegals when there are many, many, many people, veterans also, that are homeless here in the United States. But illegals are getting all that money. When I've been in the grocery store where I've been so pissed off I've had to leave because I'm going to say something to one of them, and I'm sure I'll get arrested because, I'm speaking rudely to an illegal who has no rights. Is that right or wrong, Jeff? Do illegals have any rights at all?
Well, no. I mean, they broke into our country. They're illegals. They're here illegally.
Right. Illegal is the word. Liberals, if we just had one news channel that would start telling the truth, they all should be fined, and Trump should be fining them all the time when they're lying. And people like Chuck Schumer, who is constantly saying, they're going to take all your Social Security, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, this big deal. He needs to be told to shut your mouth. And you need to be voted out immediately. And I don't know what is wrong with the people, but I got to tell you what I think is wrong. I think they cheat, steal, and they do it constantly, all against the people of this country that they're supposed to work for. They're all a bunch of criminals. I've said it over and over again. And why we're not seeing them gone is beyond me. And why I'm not seeing airplanes flying over my head with illegals in it every single hour of the day is beyond me also. Because there are so many here that it shouldn't be a problem escorting them out.
Well, Mags, we know why, right? We know. You put your finger right on it. We know why. And that's why this is such an important story. She voted, that we know of, in the 2024 presidential election for Kamala Harris. I suspect this is not her first time she voted. So that's why the Democrats notice. They don't even want you to deport an MS-13 gangbanger or one Trent or Aragua murderer or rapist, because every illegal that gets deported is one vote less for them. That's why they got judges blocking it, Democrats going ballistic, the media attacking Trump. It's obstruct, block, delay, slow walk, eventually hoping they could get the midterm elections, impeach Trump, and drive him out of office, or take the White House back in 2028. So their goal is obvious. Keep all of the illegals here as much as possible because they vote. And to make sure that they vote, give them free stuff. Our money. Give them free rent, free housing, free food, free money, free cash, Social Security, free health care, Medicaid, free everything. Just keep the money going. And then they vote. That's why they're going apoplectic that Trump wants to deport them. Mags, thank you as always. God bless you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you the $64,000 question. Who lives better? An illegal alien or you? Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. And again, it's based off of the story about this illegal alien Colombian woman just been arrested a couple days ago for having voted illegally in the 2024 presidential election, obviously for Kamala Harris. And now they find out that she has taken in over $400,000 taxpayer money in federal welfare benefits. And that's just one illegal. That's just one that they caught. That's just one. So my question to you, who has a higher standard of living? In all honesty, I'd love for as many of you to answer this poll question as possible. In other words, who lives better? A, me, as in you, us, you, me, you. B, illegal aliens. Overall, who has a better or higher standard of living? A, illegals. A, Americans, my bad. You, me, us. Or B, illegals. Honestly, my vote, God is my witness, I think it's illegals. I'm not saying in every case, obviously. But I think you look at people's quality of life. Look, I was just saying this off air. I've never had somebody, I don't live rent-free. Here, I don't even have free health care. I have to pay for my health. It's good quality health care that I get at iHeart. First of all, I have deductions, I have co-pays, but let that go. I got to pay premiums every 2 weeks, comes right out of my check. And it's not cheap. It's good quality health care. I'm not complaining. But I don't have free health care. I've never had free rent or a free mortgage ever. Ever. Outside of someone treating me to a meal here or there, which I really appreciate. No, I've never had free food. I always pay for my food. I've always paid for my food. So what I'm saying is, I look at the way these illegals are being treated. And, I have a nice car. Grace has a nice car, but it's pre-owned, a used car. I'm not complaining. But you look at these cars that these illegals are driving. I don't drive those cars. I'm telling you, I don't drive a brand new Silverado. I see some of these Ford pickup trucks that they're driving. Those are $50,000, $60,000 cars. I'm not driving that, and new and nice. So, look, I'm not saying, hey, I'm pleading poverty. I'm just saying, I think illegals, on the whole, many of them live better than many Americans. I would be a B on this poll, but that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner. KUHN is in National ER. I'm always active on X. I was very active last night. You can vote via X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report. KUHN is in National ER. Tom in Westford. Thanks for holding, Tom, and welcome.
As always, I appreciate all you do for us.
Thank you, Tom.
The one thing that's really discouraging is, the illegals are voting, and that's how Liz Warren and Ed Markey keep getting in. And it's like an endless unless they reform our voting system, we're never going to see the day of light. We'll never see the light at the end of the tunnel. It'll be forever going on and on and on. It's like, they got to do something.
Well, and Tom, that's where I think the cowardice comes in. From the media and, frankly, from the Republicans. The Democrats, we know. They're gangsters and they're stealing elections and they're stealing votes. Okay, that's what they do. They buy votes to then steal the votes to then steal elections. That's their modus, that's their formula. That's their modus operandi, their MO. But my God, where's the Republican Party? Where's the mass GOP? Where's the media? You're completely right. We have crooked elections, corrupt elections. Now you know why they don't want voter ID laws, Tom. Now you don't know why they don't want Trump's reforms, where he says you have to prove you're an American citizen, show identification and papers, that you're an American citizen in order to be registered to vote. Because then this Colombian illegal, okay, this woman would never have been able to register. Remember, I'm just going by the arrest. Okay, by the indictment of the U.S. Attorney, Leah B. Foley. This woman fraudulently registered to vote for the election here in Massachusetts in January 2023. And then she definitely voted. She even had a sticker saying, I voted. So that's why they don't want proof of citizenship. If she had to come up with proof of citizenship, then she's caught. So, you see, that's why they don't want any of these election integrity reforms. Because, Tom, you're dead on. We are talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of illegal alien voters just in this state alone. If you're going around the country, it's in the millions. Look, there are more, I'll get probably to it tomorrow. There's more coming out now of the Biden cover-up and his aides and what they were saying behind the scenes. There is no way in hell that guy got 81 million votes. There's no way. There's no way. There's no way Kamala Harris got, 76 million votes? They're trying to tell us now that idiot, seriously, that drunk, that boozer who couldn't put a sentence together, okay, Kamala, that this woman got that commie, that she got 76 million votes. No way. It's impossible. And you ask yourself, how do they get these votes? Well, now you know. Now you know. And then you keep asking yourself, but we're paying so much into Social Security. How come it's always on the verge of bankruptcy? Well, they just put 2 million illegals on Social Security in the last couple of years. That's why the system's going broke. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. Okay, just very, very quick. This is a really good message I got on Messenger from Shannon, and I see this all the time. All the time. All the time. It's almost like Shannon was with me at my local grocery store. It's uncanny. Jeff, the other night, except I don't go to Walmart. This is about Walmart. I normally don't go to Walmart. But Jeff, the other night, my husband and I went into Walmart, and there was an illegal alien couple in front of us. 2 carriages filled with everything you can imagine. That's what I see. I'm like, not 1, but 2. The bill came to $586. She pulled out an EBT card, paid for some of it with that, and then her husband literally pulled out a wad of cash. My husband said, I can't believe how much cash he has in his hand for the rest of the payment for the groceries. We can't do that. I'm on a budget. I have a certain amount of cash for food, bills, and what I have left for is for entertainment. And this guy pulls out a massive amount of cash out of his pocket. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Yeah, because they're working under the table. Tax-free, baby. It's all cash. And I've seen the same thing over and over. They pull out that EBT card. I'm telling you, it's like an American Express card. Really. The motto it should be in this state, don't leave home without it. EBT. The EBT card, don't leave home without it. I mean, it's just, they pull out that EBT. And you're right. If that doesn't cover the 2 carts, there's that cash. And I'm like, I'm just like you. I'm like, just got to be $1,000 in there. Just pulls it out. Tick, flick, 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 flick. There it is. And again, not even a thank you, whatever. Have a nice day. No, what English? Why would they even lower themselves to say a few words in English? And that's the racket. Well, now again, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but if the taxpayers, you and me, if we're paying for their housing and their rent, well, that's most of your expenses right there. Then we're paying for either all or most of their food. Plus, they're scamming the government. They're collecting welfare checks or Social Security disability. So they've got different sources of income. And they're on free health care. They get Medicaid. And they can send their kids to school, all a la free. Well, think about it. Yeah, of course you're going to have a nice car. Of course you're going to have disposable cash. By the time I'm done with the mortgage, my health care, I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining it's life. The bills, the energy bills, the electricity, the food, the groceries. I mean, yeah, there's some left over, but, it's not $1,000 in my pocket. Flick, 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 flick. And here it is. And I look at that cart. That's not cheap stuff. It's not potato chips and soda. That's good. That's some good stuff they got in there. 617-266-6868. Mary in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mary, and welcome.
Yes. I just wanted to tell you, I'm in New Hampshire, and I know 3 couples. I'm retired, and there's 3 couples that I know that are retired that moved to Massachusetts. And usually Massachusetts moves to New Hampshire. They moved to Mass because the benefits are better there. One woman that I talked to cannot afford to get a pizza on not pizza week that they have because they can't afford it. She's only allowed so much, her husband only allows her to buy so much groceries a week because they can't afford it. They can barely pay their rent. They're like doing so poorly. Illegals live much, much better. Now, another thing is, do I live better than illegals? I don't think so, but I also am raising a grandkid that I'm fortunate enough to be able to afford to buy him a bed and different things. People in the family pull together to get him to make sure he has a good Christmas. So we're fortunate that way. But I see so many illegals with really nice cars and lots of money, and I don't know how they're getting it. Oh, I wanted to tell you this. A friend of mine's daughter had to go to a shelter for domestic abuse, her and her daughters, and she said to the people that work there, how come these Hispanic people and different people from different countries come and go all the time out of here? And I've been here about a year now, and you haven't found housing for me. And they said, I don't know, that's just the way that it is. And so she went to a Hispanic woman and said, do you know why it is that you come and go so quickly? All the Hispanic people come and go so quickly and find homes, have kids, don't have kids, whatever. And I have 2 daughters, and we've been here almost a year. And the woman said, you have to know how to play the game. I don't know. And she said she doesn't know what the game is.
Oh, they're migrants. That's the game. They're migrants. They're illegals. And they've been taught how to scam the system and how to put themselves up first and get themselves to the front of the line. And American citizens, because they're law-abiding, like the person you're talking about, Mary, or like Michael in Boston or Annie in Chelsea, we follow the rules. You see, if there's a line, we go and wait in line. That's what we do. We follow the rules. They don't. I keep saying this over and over again. It's not just that they came into our country illegally. Think about what it takes. You sneak into a country. You disrespect its laws. You disrespect its sovereignty. You're basically saying, I don't care. I just don't care about your country and your system of government and your laws and your legal system. Puh, that's what I think of it. And then they get fraudulent social security numbers. So they're all on, so then they're committing identity theft. And then they're saying, and by the way, look, when you talk to these illegals, as I have, they tell you to your face, they don't even lie. They go, yeah, of course I'm on welfare. Yeah, I'm on EBT. Yeah, I'm on Medicaid. Yeah, you're crazy. Of course I'm on Section 8. Yeah, I'm on food stamps. Yeah, I'm on, on everything. They look at you like me, as in, like the American, the dumb gringo. They're like, and why aren't you? Like, in other words, why aren't all of you on government assistance and work under the table? Like, you're crazy. It's the law of the jungle. Every person for themselves. Take and take and take and screw the system and screw the country. They don't think the way you and I think. Well, if I don't work or if I'm working under the table and not paying taxes and we're all mooching off of the government, the whole thing's going to collapse. They don't think like that. There's no civic patriotism. There's no allegiance to America. There's no sense of the rule of law and right and wrong. And no, many of them come from very poor third world basket cases, hellholes. It's every person for themselves. So their mentality is, yeah, you screw the system. Of course. Like what's your point? Like, why, and why aren't you? Like, you're dumb for not doing what they do. That's what we want? We go down this road. We keep going down. We're going to become a third world country as well. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. The text line is on fire. You can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 781, and 781 makes an absolutely very, I think, a really good point. Jeff, do you suppose the local media doesn't report on any of this stuff because they're scared to death of Maura Healey or Wu's retribution? I agree. I think that's part of it. I think they know if they start reporting about, stolen elections and illegals voting in the presidential election and collecting, as this one did, over $400,000 in benefits. And obviously we're going to say that's not the only one. We know for sure that's not the only one. So then they're going to say, open up the books. How much of our money, and it's billions and billions and billions of our taxpayer dollars. How much have they wasted and fraudulently given away to all of these illegals? I mean, it would bring down the entire Democratic regime, both here and across the country. And that's why the media has to suppress this story. No, what bothers me, what sticks in my craw, is I know why liberals are liars. And I know why the liberal lying media, these propagandists who are corrupted or core, won't cover it. But what's the excuse for, say, Fox? I'm not picking on Fox. I'm just giving that as an example. Or Newsmax or whatever. And I like Newsmax a lot. I really do. But I'm just saying, why aren't they reporting on this? Because they're petrified of, this is the elephant in the room. Elections have been stolen. We have rampant voter fraud. Illegals are voting. And just stand back, okay? The lines are jammed. I want to go to the phones, but just stand back. Look at what Elon has uncovered. I mentioned now that they've taken over 12 million 12 million off of the Social Security rolls. 12 million. And those are the ones that say they're 120 years old and older. And as I said in my opening monologue, the one person in the United States is 114. I think there's about 100 people in the whole country that are over the age of 100. Okay, so 120, it's impossible. There's 12 million of them. So they just finally now have taken them all off the rolls. Elon then discovered that Biden put over 2 million illegals just in his term onto Social Security. So 2 million illegals were added. They're getting Social Security checks every single month. These are illegals. They never paid a penny into Social Security. You know what 2 million on Social Security is? Okay, that's the sucking sound. It's draining the system. That's what that is. But then Elon said, well, we just kept drilling. What the hell at this point? So we followed the fraudulent Social Security numbers given to these illegals who are collecting Medicaid, who are collecting Social Security, who are collecting Medicare. And they said, we couldn't believe how many of them voted. How many of them were registered to vote? And how many of them voted? Now, that was just in the 2024 election. Elon and his team said, keep going, 2022, 2020 especially. There are millions and millions of illegals who use, think about it. You got now a phony Social Security number. Like this woman. She doesn't just have a real ID, which means she can board a plane and fly. She had a passport. She had identification up the wazoo. She had 8 state IDs on her. This Colombian woman that was just arrested for having voted. Of course they can vote. They're going to be registered to vote. And think about it from their point of view. Why wouldn't they vote? You got a guy, i.e. Donald Trump, who says, I'm getting into office, I'm deporting every single one of you. I'm cutting off all the welfare. I'm sealing that border. And I'm going to unleash Tom Holman and ICE. And we're going to go community to community, neighborhood to neighborhood, street to street, state to state. And millions of you, you're out. Well, from their self-interest, of course they're going to vote. Frankly, they'd be crazy if they didn't voted. They know you touch this story, Joe Biden is illegitimate. Trump was right. 2020 was stolen. If 2020 was stolen, think about it. Everything Biden did was illegitimate, invalid. It would plunge the country into an unprecedented constitutional, legal, political crisis. And so they say, don't cover, move, pass, nothing to see here, leave it alone. Leave it alone. 617-266-6868. Mark in Connecticut. Thanks for holding, Mark, and welcome.
Yeah, good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, I'll tell you, to answer your question, I'm better off. And it's several reasons. One, Debbie and I got married like 500 years ago or something, and we put our boat in the water and started all rowing in the same direction. And, we had our ducks in a row, mostly because she's smarter than me, but we won't go there. We got our houses paid for, and, we're pretty well set up for retirement. But beyond that, we worked for everything we ever got and stuff. Nothing was given to us. It's a sense of pride that you can't get from being a leech. You can't get pride in being a leech. It's just, we were talking about this yesterday, actually, because we saw this story, and it's like, there's no way I'd take money from any country or, where I wasn't supposed to be or, leech off the rest of society like that. There's no pride. I don't understand. I was raised in a real Sicilian family where, the pride was a big thing, and you work, and you do good, and you obey the laws, and you do good. And I don't understand where these people come from that, don't have any self-esteem or anything, how you can do that. And that's about all I had to say, really.
Well, Mark, look, and I'm not saying this to stroke your ego or flatter you, but you're a self-reliant, independent, self-respecting American citizen. And everything what you said is not, forget 1,000%. It's the God's truth. I couldn't live as a leech. I couldn't live as a parasite. Where's your pride? I agree with you. And let's just leave the government aside for a second. Imagine me, I don't know, I could never imagine going to my sister's house or going to one of my in-laws' house and just sitting around the house all day and raiding the fridge and putting my feet up and watching Jerry Springer and doing nothing all day. Or if I get sick, expecting them to pay for the, the doctor bill or the medical bill and just take care of me from A to Z. I mean, I'd be ashamed. I'd be ashamed. I would never do it. I mean, I'm just telling you, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. And I was just like you. I was raised to work. I was raised to appreciate that you have work. Honestly, to appreciate everything you have in life. To follow the law, to obey the law. Honestly, to respect authority. Maybe too much to respect authority, but that's another issue. Let that go. My father, look, he called them bums. My father would always say that about, my father came from real poverty. He never looked down on people. He really never did. Who hit hard times and were on unemployment or, even had to go on welfare. He goes, no, look, anything can happen at any time. But when he saw able-bodied young people in particular, but just able-bodied people in general, and just living on welfare year after year after year, he said, they're a bum. You're a leech. You're a sponge. You're a welfare deadbeat. And, you're a parasite on society. You're stealing. Really, what you are is you're a crook. People don't realize that. That's theft. Think about it. Look, either I hold you up at gunpoint, Mark, and say, give me $100,000, or you do what this illegal alien Colombian woman did, which is sit back, put your feet up, and let Mark, through his taxes, she takes our money, takes your money. Either way, that's your money. She's stealing your money. She doesn't have a right to it. She's not entitled to it. And you're just stealing. You're literally saying, I am not going to work. I'm going to be a completely unproductive member of society. I can work. I'm old, I'm able to work. I'm healthy enough to work. I don't want to work. Now that's theft. And it's legal. Just because it's legal, actually it's illegal for an illegal alien. But my point is, I'm just using welfare now. Say an American citizen just sits around all day twiddling their thumbs and collecting welfare. You're a thief. That's what you are. You're a crook. So, to me, I wasn't raised like that. Frankly, most Americans are not raised like that. But when you start bringing people in from a third world culture, their mentality is completely different. It's take what you can when you can. And you're stupid if you don't take what you can. And that's what we don't realize. Not everybody is a Sicilian. I'm saying this honestly, Mark. Not everybody, the waves of immigrants that we had before, they came to contribute. They came to work. In fact, many of them, I'm telling you, never even wanted to come here in the first place. They would have much preferred to stay in the home country. But there was no work. They were starving. They were going hungry, especially after World War II, but it doesn't matter, even before. And so they came here, they kissed the ground. Thank you. I can feed my family. I can live. I can have some kind of a decent life on this earth. And they never forgot it. And they work 6 days a week, and they went to church on Sunday and back to work on Monday. And July 4th, hand on their heart. That's what they did. And they sent their kids to school and they told them, I don't want to hear from the teacher. Because believe me, the teacher's not going to punish you nowhere near as bad as me. Now, that's Italians, that's Poles, that's Irish, frankly, it's Croatians, doesn't matter. That's Chinese immigrants that came, Jewish immigrants, I can go right across the board. They're coming in illegally. These are squatters. They're coming in to take and to loot. Grab as much as they can while they can. And the Democrats know that. Now, in the end, let me tell you how this ends, Mark. It ends in two ways, my friend. Either Trump wins and we stop him and we deport him and we get our country back. Or the Democrats keep them and then give them a path to amnesty. And they've already said now, they win the White House in 2028, you're going to see 20 million new citizens. And then the whole system collapses. We go broke because no country can sustain this. Like, this is how it ends. Squatters take over your house. Either you kick them out and regain your home, take back your house and your family and your pride and your dignity, or they stay and they kick you out. And believe me, squatters aren't going to keep up your home. Squatters take and take and take until the whole thing comes crashing down, and then they move somewhere else to squat again. So that's where things stand, Mark. So we've got about 2-3 years now, 2.5, 3 years to fix this. And if our own media doesn't have the guts to speak out against this, I don't know what to say. Oh, really? And Mark, look, let me just say this, and I'm already going to be saying too much. My wife is going to get very mad at me. I had an offer recently. I'm not going to say from who, from where, but I had an offer recently, very good money. Okay? Very good money. They hear me on the air. They've seen me on television. I've been doing a lot of Newsmax lately. And they wanted to give me a very substantial offer. But they stressed, be conservative, bash the Democrats, but you got to learn to toe the line. When we say there are certain topics that are off limits, like voter fraud and stolen elections, we want to make sure that you're a team player. My answer to them, I'm not for sale. Thanks for the offer. No thanks. Okay, in fact, this was just a couple days ago, just before the weekend. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not for sale. And to me, Mark, I think if this country goes down, I don't believe it will, but if this country goes down, I think what did us in was the sin of greed. Everybody sold out. They took the easy money, the fast money, the quick money. And we let them in. We let these invaders in. We let them into our, they squatted into our home, and we let them stay. And I'm not for sale. And I'll tell you this, our founding fathers weren't for sale. And the people we honored yesterday on Memorial Day, they weren't for sale. When they died in Vietnam, when they died in Iraq and Afghanistan, when they died in Korea, when their blood turned the Atlantic Ocean red in the beaches of Normandy, or when they fought during the Civil War at Gettysburg, where the South was so close to winning that thing, and literally it was boys from Massachusetts and Maine and New England that were the last line that prevented General Lee's army from winning. They weren't for sale either. And so I'm telling you right now, greed, the almighty buck, is what's going to bring this country down. And that's why we have to say, that's why I love President Trump. He's not for sale, and he has that pride of being an American. We're not going to sell our country to China. We're not going to sell our country out to the globalists. We're not going to sell our country out to the corporate interests. We're not for sale. Period. Full stop. Mark, final word to you, my Sicilian friend.
You ended off the same way I began, with the money. They offered you all this money and everything, but you'd have to be like Fox News and just, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. And, those people are getting, free money, but you got to vote here, and it's all the same. It's just, it's illicit money. It's to me, it's tainted. You don't want that money. The money you earn, and is the good money, the money you work for, because you take pride in it, yourself, your house, your family. Squatter's going to trash your house. They don't care about your house. They got it for free. So, and the last thing I want to say is, Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way.
Mark, I was just going to say, buddy, you're a brother from another mother. You really are. Mark, thank you very much for that call. Really, we're so simpatico, it's not even funny, really. Dan in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Yeah, Jeff, I guess you are the only one that really talks about election fraud, okay? You get Sean Hannity the guy's on Fox News. Sean Hannity, who runs a scripted show. I tried talking about elections, and he cut it out. They cut it out. They do recorded calls before the show. And then you get the constitutional fraud, Mark Levin. Hey, Mark, if you're listening, the Supreme Court ruled Moore versus Harper, June 27, 2023, on how they set a precedent on how they failed to follow constitutional voting laws. In 39 states, they changed it illegally using corrupt judges, lawyers, Marxist, communist, Democrat politicians, okay, and it to universal mail-in voting and early voting, violating the Constitution and separation of powers, because the judges can only rule on laws. They can't make or change laws. And the only weekend after they put it on the ballot and get the 2/3 majority vote from the people, okay, empowering the state legislators to change them. All funded by ActBlue, okay, and we need to expose these dirty law firms, Jeff, okay, tied to these lawyers. I mean, they're all part of the same dirty establishment, okay? On top of it, okay, let's go into the fact in Massachusetts, okay? I got a source that has assured me just after the midterms that they already have well over 20,000 illegal criminals loaded on voting machines in Massachusetts. And then in New Hampshire, you have a negotiation between the Sununu's and Jean Shaheen.
Well, Dan, look, you're firing on all cylinders because they're trying to rig everything up in New Hampshire. Look, the goal is to turn New Hampshire into another Massachusetts. That's clear. That's their intention. And look, the elections here in Massachusetts are dirty. They're rife with fraud. They're rife with corruption. And look at the silence, the cowardly silence of the entire Massachusetts Republican Party, except for a handful of people. Okay, I'm talking, you can count them on two hands. They don't want to even discuss it. They don't even want to mention it. But everybody knows that the elections in this state are dirty. So what does that tell you? That tells you they're on the take. And to me, this is what I just find incredible. It's how people are willing to sell themselves. And it's not even for a lot of money. Like, you just shake your head and you go, so you sold your soul for that? Okay, it wasn't even a high price? I mean, I don't know what else to say. No, look, I think it's very obvious is that the Republicans now, the rhinos, the establishment GOP, it's the uniparty. Everybody now's got their finger in this pie. Everybody. Remember this about the Republicans. They are in bed with Wall Street and the Chamber of Commerce, the donor class. And what do donors want? What does corporate America want? They want cheap labor. They were the ones, to be fair, they were the ones who initially said, this was over 30 years ago, flood the country with illegals. Why? Cheap labor. And initially the Democrats opposed because the unions rightly said, this is going to kill us. But then the Democrats realized, if we give them welfare, all of these illegals will vote for us illegally. These dumb idiots in corporate America, these stupid Republicans, these country club Republicans, they're going to cut their own throat. And so then the Democrats got in on the racket. And now both parties are deeply compromised. And that's why they share one overriding goal and objective. destroy and bring down Donald Trump. Because MAGA is the only thing now that stands in their way. 617-266-6868. More next. 9:20 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Sean in Peabody. Thanks for holding, Sean, and welcome.
How you doing, sir? First time, long time.
Welcome, Sean.
I just wanted to address the amount of help that illegals get in this state. Because my wife and I work full time, and I'm a combat vet, and we can barely pay for anything in this state, and we can't get any help. And then you have all these people that get all this free stuff, and it just makes you wonder, why are we? What is the Democrats' end game on this? Just to keep getting elected, buying votes.
Sean, if you don't mind me asking, and again, I promise I won't be offended if you think I'm getting too personal. You said you're a combat vet. What theater of war did you serve in?
I served in Iraq.
You served in Iraq. Was it one tour of duty?
Yes.
And so you're saying that you and your wife live in this state. Now, I'm just curious. Do you get any assistance for health care? Do you get any assistance for food? Do you get any assistance for your rent, for your housing? Does the Commonwealth of Massachusetts try to help you?
No, I mean, I get a little bit of VA. I've got a couple of my kids are disabled as well. We can't get any help with that. Because the income standards are so. You basically have to be living in a box to get any help if you're a citizen.
I mean, that's outrageous. It
really is. I mean,
it makes my blood boil. Sean, again, please, I know you're a very proud man, and I'm asking only just so that the audience understands how wrong all this is. Sean, are you on food stamps? Do they help you out with food, SNAP? Do they give you anything?
We make too much. My wife and I both work 40-hour-a-week jobs. I work 6 nights a week. My wife works 45 hours during the day. Somebody's got to be home just in case something happens with our kids in school. It's what we've had to deal with. We did it out once to get help, SSDI for the kids. My wife would have to make $15 an hour, and I wouldn't be able to work.
So, sorry, Sean. So for your disabled children, your wife would have to make $15 an hour. You would have to get rid of your job in order to qualify for Social Security disability, correct?
Yeah. We did it out a couple of years ago, and, we couldn't afford to live like that.
Well, but Sean, this 59-year-old illegal alien woman from Colombia, who I'm not trying to, I'm being a little bit facetious, obviously, but
no, I know.
could run circles around you run circles around me. I mean, the last thing she is disabled. Okay. I mean, you should see this woman. I'm telling you, we should enlist her in the military, but let that go, Sean. We wouldn't lose a war, believe me. Sean, but she's getting $101,000 in Social Security disability. So you served our country, put literally your life on the line for us. God knows what you're dealing with in terms of trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder and everything else that comes from, being in combat. And you and your wife are working like dogs, 40 hours each. You're working 6 days a week. And you're struggling to make ends meet. You got a couple of beautiful children who happen to be disabled. So you need some extra help. You're getting, outside of a little bit from the VA, you're getting the middle finger. And, Sean, her rent covered completely. Her food covered completely. Thousands of dollars in checks, Social Security disability coming in every month. Sean, you tell me, who served, you or her?
Apparently she must have done something. I mean, and the problem with illegals goes farther back than I think even Biden. okay, and possibly even Obama. I mean, I worked on an Army base, 2002, and there was a bus that went from New Jersey over to Philly, and we would have to check people's IDs, and people that didn't have IDs got off, and our higher-ups would call INS, and they'd say, yeah, let them go. This was back in, I want to say, 2002?
Yeah, Bush. It got bad under Clinton, but it really got bad under Bush. I mean, they practically had an open border under Bush, and of course under Obama as well. Sean, this is just so wrong. I mean, honest, I got to stay calm because really, I don't want to get my blood pressure to go, through the roof. But you deserve a lot better. You and your wife deserve a lot better. You've earned it. You've earned it. And the benefits that this fraud, this illegal is getting, this leech, that's what you should be getting. Help with your rent. Help with Social Security for your disabled kids. Help with some food. I mean, just overall, help. You've given us so much. The least we can do is give you something back in return. Sean, you're a man of honor. You're a patriot. I want you to know that I honestly appreciate everything you've done for our country. Please carry your head high. God bless you. God bless your wife and your children. And I want to thank you for your service from the bottom of my heart. I'm behind this microphone because of you. This country is what it is because of you. And Sean, please don't be a stranger. Call again. RKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. A couple lines are open if you want to jump on. Okay, you got to hear this. You got to hear it to believe it, okay? So, because some of you may not be fully knowledgeable about the intricacies of tax law and the IRS, but this you got to hear. So, an ITIN, which is an individual taxpayer identification number, okay, an ITIN. So it's a 9-digit number that is issued by the IRS for tax purposes, and this is only to individuals who are not eligible for a Social Security number, but they have to file a U.S. tax return. Okay, so there are people in this country, many of them obviously illegal aliens, working under the table or whatever it is, and for tax purposes, they file what's called an ITIN, okay, an individual taxpayer identification number. Now, you're going to be saying, Jeff, what the hell does this have to do with our topic right now? Okay, this is from 617. Jeff, did you know that illegal aliens can file a tax return? This to me is incredible. With a temporary ITIN, an individual taxpayer identification number. And also, here it comes. Listen to this. Get ready. Get ready. Don't spit out your coffee. And they can claim relatives that still live in Mexico or any other country. They can claim them as a freaking deduction. I'm telling you, you can't make this up. Last year, the IRS gave approximately, listen to this, $3.2 billion in refunds to illegal aliens. And how do I know this? I've worked for the IRS for 17 years. Sorry, either you laugh or you cry. I mean, what are you going to do? So there you go. There you go. You come into the country illegally. You commit identity theft. You work illegally. You're working under the table. Then, hey, only in America. No, hey, file a tax return. And you can claim the family back home as dependents. And then they give you a check. Oh, man, oh, man. Oh, man, I never thought of this. I swear. Well, my poor dad, he was battling Parkinson's. I should have claimed him as independent. Grace, sweetie, if you're listening, your sister Anne Marie, your niece, claim them as dependents. Never mind. I got a village in Croatia of relatives. Put them. What the hell? Oh my God. Okay. Speaking of stolen elections in 2020, and we know now that the voter fraud was, it was astronomical. It was rampant. It was rife. It was everywhere. In Michigan, this is from 617. Jeff, sorry, this is from 603. Jeff, in Michigan, never forget, 6 precincts in the 2020 presidential election recorded voter turnout at 120%. One precinct reported voter turnout at 721%. Was there fraud, Jeff? You better believe there was fraud. So, there you go. Why are all these illegals on welfare? You got to give them their due. When the Democrats need them to vote, they deliver. Kenny in Weston. Thanks for holding, Kenny, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Kenny.
Saturday night, I took a ride out to the out in Hudson at the American Heritage Museum, and they had it was like an air show, but with tanks, and it was pretty. Then I went downtown Hudson, which I haven't been for some time, and I went to one of the shopping areas out there, and it was like a third world out there. I just couldn't believe it. But the important point was, I'm coming downtown. I stopped, checking out some of the shops, just a little shops, some little restaurants, and looking around. And then I noticed in one of the shops was a sign, and I just couldn't believe it. And it looked like a nice little unique gift shop. And here's what the sign said: "See ice? ? Call the Luce LUCE hotline," and it gives a phone number. And it says, "What do? We verify ice sightings, support you in exercising your rights, share verified information to protect the community." And it says Luce, Massachusetts Ice Watchdog.
Kenny, I'm very happy you called, because this is popping up everywhere. Not just in Massachusetts. They're popping up in Chicago, in L.A., in Detroit. Now, apparently a lot in Detroit, in New York, in many, many places. These so-called ICE watchdogs, and where they tip off illegal aliens. Oh, there's apparently an ICE raid coming, and then you tip off the illegals and they escape. Look, the FBI needs to investigate. The Homeland Security needs to investigate. These people need to be shut down, and they have to be arrested. They are aiding and abetting criminal illegal aliens. And they're aiding, abetting, helping them evade ICE and evade arrest. Kenny, I'm with you 1,000% on this. Honestly, these people are traitors. They're traitors. And I'll tell you, the illegals, I don't blame as much. Of course, I blame them. They shouldn't be here. But at least you can say, well, they're protecting their own. What I really can't stand are these libs, these radical moonbats, these radical Democrats, American citizens. That to me is, that's treason. What you're doing is you're helping people invade our country, and then you're helping these people stay in our country. And to me, they're an absolute disgrace, a complete and utter disgrace. Kenny, thank you very much for that call. Really good call. Great information. Tony in Maine, thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi,
Listened
Tony.
to you for a long time.
Welcome,
I'm a veteran from Maine. I've been sick for 3 years. I've gotten great health care from the veterans. But my problem is, that's what I get. No food, no transportation, no help with a lot of things. And to make it all worse, my daughter stole my house 3 years ago, and now I'm being evicted.
Tony, I'm sorry, I missed the last sentence. I know you're being evicted, but what did you say before that?
My daughter stole my house when I was very sick.
Oh, she transferred the house to her name? Is that what she did?
I was very sick, and who knows what to do now? I have to be out of here and find an apartment, Dad. I hate you. And my daughter drove around in a Jaguar when she was in high school from Daddy. And this is the way I get treated. And I appreciate everything the veteran does for me. I've broken my hip. I've had a major operation on my stomach. I'm legally blind. I have a hard time breathing all the time. I have that OCD and heart problems. And you would think that.
Tony, can you please hang on? I'm up against the break. You know, Mike, I think we can make some exceptions, to be frank. But anyway, Tony, hang on. I'm going to come right back to you, okay? Just hang on. Short break. 50, actually 9:51 on the great WRKO. We lost Tony. I was worried about that when we went to the break. It just, he seemed like he was struggling just to talk on the air. I mean, obviously he's got serious health issues. He's desperate. I feel very, very bad for him. And this is what I mean. These are veterans. These are people who fought, served our country, put it all on the line, and they deserve a hell of a lot better. And, they're not getting the health care that they deserve. They're not getting the housing that they deserve. They're not getting, the assistance that they deserve. But what this state and what the Democrats are obsessed with is catering to their customers. And that's what illegals are. They're their customers. And it's an implicit deal. It's a bargain. And the bargain is we take better care of you than we do fellow Americans. But you have to vote for us. And that to me, that's the heart of the betrayal, and that's the heart of the treason. And you have these spineless, yellow-livered Republicans, establishment Republicans, who are all in bed with the donor class, who want these illegals as cheap labor, as cheap workers, and so they deliberately turn a blind eye. And who gets shafted? The vets and we, the taxpayers, the whole country. 617-266-6868. Charles in Lynn. Thanks for holding, Charles, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Charles.
All the illegals in Lynn, it's a mess here. And there's a lot of people that think it's okay, that it's normal. There's a lot of white people that are progressive. They think it's a progress that Lynn is being overrun by illegals. And I don't know, they sound like they're brainwashed, and it's a mess in Lynn. I'm sure you know that.
Oh no, I've been to Lynn many times. You're dead on. No, Lynn is increasingly becoming like a third world hellhole. I mean, I still like parts of Lynn. Parts of Lynn are beautiful, and I like a lot of the people in Lynn. But no, you're right. But Charles, I've got to ask you. I mean, they ask themselves, but we're paying for all these illegals. We're paying for them to be on welfare. We're paying for their housing. We're paying for their food. We're paying for these shelters. In other words, we're working for them. Like, that doesn't compute with these white liberals? I'm just curious, Charles.
No, like years ago, Lynn was a big shopping community. Restaurants, hotels. There was a Sears in Lynn. It was a beautiful city years ago. And for some reason, they think that there's progress going on. Now, I was speaking to someone the other day, and very left-wing, old people, too, that should know better. And I asked him, I says, is a pot shop on every corner progress? Is young people walking around with their pants hanging down? Is the Spanish language dominant in Lynn? Is that progress? I could go on and on. What they do is in order to defeat graffiti, instead they let them draw murals on buildings. Oh, they're going to graffiti anyway, so we'll let them draw murals on buildings. Is that progress?
Yeah, what about all the needles on the ground? No, you're on a roll, Charles. Yeah, what about all the drug addicts and all the needles on the ground on the sidewalks and in the parks? Is that progress for them? What about all the crime? Lynn used to be I know, people tell me that, and I believe them. They go, Jeff, Lynn used to be so safe. You could literally go to sleep and not lock your door. Now, geez, you need bars on your windows. No, Charles, look, it's not progress, it's regress. And what you're seeing is not just the third worldization of Lynn. You're seeing the third worldization of Massachusetts, and sadly, the third worldization of America. And that's why we have Trump. We're going to take our country back.